In today's video, I am going to share with you the 5 foods that I would never eat as a cardiologist. Stay until the end so you don't miss the no. One tip that I have for you to make sure that you are eating these foods in a way that's not going to harm your heart. Hi everyone. I am a practicing cardiologist, clinical professor of medicine at a major medical school, and founder of a center for cardiac longevity. I'm triple board certified in internal medicine, cardiovascular medicine, and interventional cardiology. And today we are talking about the 5 foods that I would never eat. Now, before we get started, if you have not yet subscribed, please make sure that you do, because I put out new videos every week. Also, please make sure that you support this video by giving it a thumbs up. It tells me that you like this kind of content and helps me to be able to continue to make more of this content for you. So when I talk about food, I know that there's a lot of people out there that say, don't talk about food. We already know this, but I think that sometimes we need a reminder. So let's dive right in. The first food that I would never eat is a food that many of you probably enjoy occasionally or maybe frequently. It's pizza. I love pizza. Pizza is one of my favorite foods, but I would never eat it. The reason why I would never eat pizza is because I do and want the breading that goes along with it. Pizza has a lot of carbohydrates. When I think about the ingredients that go into pizza, you've got the dough, which is full of carbohydrates. You then add the sauce on top of that, which has additional carbohydrates. Then you put cheese on top of that, and the cheese also adds additional carbohydrates. So what you end up having is a dish that has way too many carbohydrates for me to ever consider eating it. When I think about the ideal diet, I think that the ideal diet should have less than 30 grams of carbohydrates per day. For most people, 20 grams is probably better. Pizza by itself can have up to 60 grams of carbs. If you're eating 2 slices, you're looking at 30 grams of carbs. If you're eating 3 or 4 slices, you're looking at 45 or more grams of carbs. So for me, as someone who's trying to optimize my health, I would never eat pizza. Now, if I was at a birthday party or a special occasion and someone slipped a slice of pizza in front of me, I would definitely indulge and eat the pizza, but I wouldn't make it a regular practice. No. 2 on my list is ice cream. I have a serious sweet tooth. Absolutely love chocolate and ice cream. There's a place nearby where they make really good ice cream. It's very hard for me to stay away from that ice cream, but I do stay away from it because, again, it has way too many carbs for me to eat. When I think about ice cream is just loaded with sugar. Ice cream also has saturated fat, which is not something that I want to consume on a regular basis. So for me, ice cream is definitely a treat that I would never eat regularly. I might eat it once in a while, but I would never eat it regularly because I'm trying to optimize my health as a cardiologist. I'm also studying all of the research behind the different things that can cause clogged arteries and heart attacks. And when I look at the research, the 2 biggest things that clog arteries are high sugar and high saturated fat. So anything that has both of those together is something that I want to avoid. And this leads me to my next point, which is any type of junk food. So when I talk about junk food, I'm talking about foods that are really high in carbohydrates and also have added sugars. So I'm talking about cookies and cupcakes and other types of desserts. The reason why I would never eat these foods is because they don't have any nutrients. They don't have vitamins, minerals, fiber, protein, things that are actually good for you. I think when we look at our diets, we need to make sure that we're filling our diet with nutrient-dense foods, foods that have a lot of vitamins and minerals. And when we look at treats like cookies, cupcakes, brownies, muffins, sodas, none of these things have any nutrients in them. They're called empty calories for a reason. So I would never eat those foods because they really do unfit into my definition of what I would consider a healthy diet. The next food that I would never eat is processed meat. Processed meats include things like salami, sausage, hot dogs, bacon, Canadian bacon, ham, all of those types of things. The reason why I would never eat these foods is because they high in sodium and they also high in saturated fat. As I mentioned earlier, saturated fat is one of the things that clogs your arteries. And when I look at all of the research that's been done on processed meats, they've actually been associated with cancer and other diseases. So I try to stay away from processed meats. I would never eat them regularly. Again, I'm not militant about food. So if somebody offered me a piece of bacon, I would probably take that bacon and eat it. But I would not seek out processed meats to eat them regularly because I want to optimize my health. And the last thing that I would never eat is foods that are high in oxalates. Oxalates are certain types of chemicals that are found in certain vegetables. These include spinach and beets. Now, before you start panicking, I'm not saying you need to avoid spinach and beets. What I am saying is that you need to be careful about how you prepare spinach and beets. There are certain ways of preparing spinach and beets that lower the amount of oxalate. One way to lower the amount of oxalate in these vegetables is to cook them. When you cook spinach and beets, you lower the amount of oxalate. Another way to lower the amount of oxalate is to serve them with other foods that are going to bind to the oxalate. So, for example, if you're serving spinach with cheese, that can help lower the amount of oxalate. Cheese contains calcium, and that calcium can bind to the oxalate, preventing the oxalate from being absorbed and having a negative effect on your body. So let's summarize the 5 foods that I would never eat: pizza, ice cream, junk food, processed meats, and high oxalate foods. Now let's talk about the no. One tip that I have for you: as we talked about, pizza is high in carbs, ice cream is high in carbs and sugar, junk food is high in carbs and sugar, processed meats are high in sodium and saturated fat, and then we have oxalate, which can build up in your body and cause kidney stones and other problems. So what should you do? If you're worried about some of these foods that you enjoy, I know you enjoy them because I enjoy them too. You want to make sure that you're re-eating them in a way that's not going to harm your body. So for example, if you love pizza, find a way to modify your pizza so that it doesn't have as much carbs. You can use cauliflower crust, or you can use a whole wheat crust. If you use a whole wheat crust, you're going to have a little bit more carbs, but you're going to have a little bit more fiber. If you really want to indulge, go ahead and use the cauliflower crust. That's going to give you less carbs. Same thing with ice cream. If you love ice cream, find an ice cream that has less sugar. I actually found some ice creams that only have 2 grams of sugar. So if you love ice cream, but you don't want all the sugar, look for ice creams that have less sugar. Another way to modify these foods is to simply eat less of them. If you love pizza, don't eat 6 slices of pizza. Eat 2 or 3 slices of pizza. That way you can still enjoy the pizza, but you're not overdoing it. For some of the other foods, like processed meat, the best way to modify them is to simply avoid them. Avoid processed meats. Don't bring them into your house. If you have a barbecue, don't buy hot dogs. Buy turkey or chicken franks instead of beef franks. Find a way to substitute the bad stuff with the good stuff. If you love this video, please make sure that you give it a thumbs up. If you haven't yet subscribed, please make sure that you do. Take care of yourself because you're worth it.